Hey friends, Kim from Stamping Imperfection. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am playing with this fantastic Mini-Slimline oak leaf die from Trinity Stamps, and I'm very excited about this because it's got a gorgeous little border around the edge that you can see. Like you can see it's going to do some scoring and die cutting around the edge of that. And then those oak leaves have this beautiful stitched detail. And again, you can see lots of lines there. It's going to do some scoring and cutting there as well. So I can't wait to try this out. It looks so pretty on the Trinity Stamps online store. I thought I just had to get it because it seems very versatile. I feel like there's going to be a lot of options here. So I went ahead and die cut this out in 5 different fall colors. And you can see I've piled the leaves in the colors, and I managed to get some of the leaves out with all the pieces intact. Those are really all die cut apart though. And you'll see there are just a huge number of things that you can do with this. So I'm very excited about it. I love stitched and scored details on dies, so I'm already looking at doing a bunch of different inlaid die cutting techniques with various parts of these dies that I have cut out here. So I'm going to make several mini slimline cards, and I'll show you the different combinations of ways I came up with to put this together. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out some card bases, and then just playing around here you can see it looks great when you just tuck different colors back in together. And then I used there's basically this outline piece, and then there is the inner outline piece with the veins in it. And then of course you can always tuck the die cut pieces that came in between all those veins back in. You can do them the same colors or different colors. Like the variety of what I feel like I can do here seems endless. So I'm just going to start making cards. So for the first one, I decided that I have this really fabulous specialty paper. It's like a creamy background, but it's got some like brown flick details, dark brown flick details inside it. And I know you can't really see it on camera, but I cut those pieces down to I should have cut them down to 6 1/4 by 6 1/2, and then I scored it at 3 1/4. So I originally cut them down 6 1/2 by 6 1/2, but lengthwise I should have just cut them down to 6 1/4. So I just trimmed 1/4 off the end of that, and I went ahead and glued one of the panels onto one of the card bases. And now I'm just going to take the easiest way to use this is to take those pieces, which I'm very gently going to add glue to the back, and I need to get all the parts, and because you can see the pieces are not attached, so I'm trying to get glue on all the pieces, and then I can just tuck it back in. And that's where this is an inlaid die cutting technique basically. So I'm like laying it back into one of the cutouts. And I love the stitch details. I love that there's so much like going through my head right now that I can do with this. So I'm just using liquid glue and trying to get the outside edges, because there are basically 2 outline pieces there, and then get a little glue on each of those little die cut pieces in between the veins. So now some of them have fallen out, so that just means I need to find the appropriate piece and tuck it back in. And that is a little bit time consuming, but I actually really like doing that. So I'm already like starting to sort through that pile there. And if you want to avoid needing to sort through the pile, get yourself a good sized tray and put the individual leaves in separate points on the tray, and then all the pieces, if the pieces fall out, they'll be exactly where they need to be. So I just basically go through the pile and try out pieces to see what piece fits where, and I'll just add a little glue and tuck those back in. So as I complete each card, I'm going to put it aside, and at the end I'm going to add the sentiments and embellishments to all the cards at one time, because I'm going to use the Happy Thanksgiving stamp and coordinating die to create the sentiments for all of the cards that came from the Autumn Impressions stamp set from Trinity Stamps. And I have another video on that stamp set. So for this card, you can see I'm using the yellow topper, and the card base is the exact size. This card base was cut 6 by 6 and scored and folded at 3 inches. And you can see I'm putting the craft colored outline back into one of the panels, and now I'm taking the chocolate vein outline die and putting it on the inside. So there's like an outer outline die and an inner outline die, and I mixed and matched the colors here. So I got a really colorful card, and I kind of liked the results of this, and I'm letting that that pretty background paper show through, because that's a specialty paper, and I think it's a perfect paper for fall. So for the third card, same thing here, except this time I'm using the 6 1/4 by 6 1/2 inch back card base, so that I have a little bit of that card stock peeking around the outside edge of the card. And this time I'm putting the whole leaf in except for the outer edge, so there's a little bit of that card stock peeking around the edge. And here I'm not using one of the die cut panels at all. I'm just using the leaves themselves, and I'm just going to kind of like tip them and turn them and try to get them the whole thing in, and I'll fill in whatever needs to be filled in with the pieces sitting on my table as I go along. And I like this one a lot, actually. It's really pretty. So I'll continue working on that. And excuse me. As I get to these where the pieces have fallen out, then it takes a little bit more time, because I have to search for the piece that fits in the spot where the piece is missing. They're all different sizes and shapes, but it's pretty easy to do because they are different sizes and shapes. So I'm able to just easily piece them together. Those reverse tweezers work so beautifully for projects like this. So for my final card, I decided I would take one of those die cut panels, and I pulled out this Quilted Slimline cover die and used that on that specialty paper, and I'm creating a regular size slimline card. So this is 8 1/4 by 7 1/2. I scored it in for 7 1/2, I believe. I scored it and folded it 3 1/4. And I'm going to make a shaker card. So I put a piece of acetate on the back side of this die cut panel, and now I'm going to add some thin foam strips. I have these, like, I think they're like 1/8 inch foam strips, and they just come on this sheet. I really like these, actually. These are making me enjoy shaker cards a little bit more than previous ones. They're not as thick as previous ones I've had, and like for some reason I don't like shaker cards. I feel like they don't look nice in my hand when I'm done, and they're like, I think it's the top panel's always too thick. So I pulled out some fall colored shaker bit sequins mixes from my stash and just filled each one of those wells. I removed the tape, and then I flipped it over on top of the card base that I created. And here's the point where I'm realizing I forgot to pull the backing paper off one side of that, so I'll pull the backing paper off and make sure I don't have any leaks. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the sentiments on. So I stamped 5 of the Happy Thanksgiving sentiments, and then went ahead and die cut them out and just added foam to the back of them. And I used some of the great Trinity Stamps has really pretty gems, and they come so beautifully packaged in these plastic boxes. So I added 3 of the amber glow gems to each of my cards, and I stamped this in a nice dark brown ink and die cut it out with a coordinating die. I love that this has a coordinating die. It makes this sentiment a word die cut. I love it. And I'm going to be using that in my scrapbook this year. So I'll go ahead and add those, and then I'm going to show you each one of these cards. I'm so happy with the way these turned out, and I have a nice little set of Happy Thanksgiving cards. These combined with the ones that I made earlier in the week with the Autumn Impressions stamp and coordinating die set, which is where that sentiment came from, make it pretty fantastic. So I will list all the things below. I would love it if you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel while you're here, and click that bell to get notifications every time I upload a new video. So here are the final cards, and I would love to know which one is your favorite or which technique you like the best for combining the different pieces. And just leave me a comment below and let me know what you think. I love that deep red. Isn't that gorgeous? That's apple red paper from Altenew, by the way. Thank you so much for watching, friends. Have a great day.